Hi, everybody. You're listening to the Oneness Junkie podcast, hosted by me, Lydia Smith, a self-proclaimed Oneness Junkie. Oneness Junkie is a place to be inspired, encouraged, and supported. Learn from the individuals who are working to make the world a better place. Let's meet today's guest. Hi, everyone. It's Lydia with the Oneness Junkie podcast and YouTube channel. And today I'm sitting here with Emily Williams. Hi, Emily.
Hey.
It's good to see you.
It's so good to see you too. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
I'm excited to introduce you to the world. So here we go. I want to tell everyone that Emily is involved in the sacred healing arts, and we're going to ask her what all that encompasses. But before I turn it over to Emily to introduce herself, I want to tell y'all how I met Emily. So I go to Unity of Houston, which is a Unity church. It's non-denominational. And they are really into lots of cool things. And they have this building. It's actually a pyramid. And we're so lucky because there are like hardly any pyramids in the United States, but there's one in Houston, Texas. And I get to go be under a pyramid. And so Emily was invited by the church to host one of her sound bowl and frequency and healing events, which she's going to talk about today. And I attended it and I just loved Emily. I had like an instant feeling of love and attraction from an energetic level. And I just went up to her and I said, I want to meet you and I want to see if you want to be on my podcast. And so we exchanged numbers and we had a phone call or a connection a couple of weeks ago. And so here we are today. We're going to get to know why I fell in love with Emily and all that she's doing and how she's helping the world raise its vibration and become a better place. Because y'all know that that's my criteria for who I interview on the Oneness Junkie podcast. We are highlighting individuals who are using their time and talents to make the world a better place. And Emily qualifies. Yay! Yeah. So Emily, can you just go back a little bit? I love when the audience gets a chance to kind of learn a little bit about your background and bring us up to like, where did you go in life that brought you to the place where you are today to be a practitioner in the sacred healing arts? And then I will ask you define some of those healing arts for us, but we want to get to know you first.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful that we met that day at the pyramid. And you're right, the pyramid is just absolutely so special. There's just something so sacred about that space and so loving about the people there. And I'm so grateful to be a part of that. So who am I? My name is Emily. I am a mother of a beautiful daughter, and her name is Della. I am a partner to a wonderful man named Chris. I'm a woman. I am a daughter. I'm a sister. I'm a human. I'm also a divine being of light. And my purpose here is to awaken the Christ consciousness within others, you know, by activating these gifts through love. And, you know, if I go back to when that started, I mean, it's really, I think, why we're all here. We just forget, you know, we forget that we are here to be in service to love. And from a young age, I always felt very connected to source, to the universe, to God. And I got veered away from that by being in a traditional church setting. I was always the one that had the questions, you know, like, wait, what about this? And what about these people? And what about, don't we love, what about, what, and
a whale swallowed a man? What?
And by no fault of anyone, right? I was veered out of those spaces. I was also rebellious. I kind of, always joke that like there was the highest version of me operating and then the lowest version of me operating, and the human version of me is like reaping the repercussions of that fight, And so sometimes the lowest version of me won. And so when I started veering kind of away on this heroine's journey, if you will, it took me on a lot of detours on the path. And some of those detours were really dark dive into my shadows, living in the shadows for a long time and kind of living in what I kind of call like the pseudo me or the masked me. And in those times in my life, I was abusing alcohol and really not understanding how codependency had really wrapped its coils around me, and how I was not acting in service of love, and my ego had taken hold of the driver's seat. And what I know about the ego is it's here to keep us safe, but it was here keeping that version of me safe. And that version of me was not serving purpose. It wasn't serving the greater good. And so in 2016, I began my journey back through recovery, recovering lost parts of myself that I had dropped off along the way. And I went through a divorce. I was married for 13 years to a wonderful human who at that point had enough of the it felt like a little bit like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because like I said, it's like the highest version of myself knew exactly what path I was meant to be taking. And yet the lowest version of myself tended to win out and pull me even out of even the lowest version of myself into this kind of pseudo me, which I think is where a lot of people find themselves, in this place of, I don't even know who I am and how did I get here and what am I doing and
what's my purpose?
Yeah. And that's essentially, and we'll get to that in a little bit, but that is one of the things that I guide people through is returning to the loved, returning to their love, their compass. So that began in 2016, but interestingly enough, I started my yogic journey in 2007. So there was definitely a call, like an itch that was, scratch. And, and so that started kind of another connection to like the spiritual layers that hadn't been quenched in a long time. And so I got my yoga teacher training, my first one in 2012, and my 500-hour teacher training in 2015. And then I got sober in 2016. And so it really was a beautiful spiritual progression and a pretty intense dark night of the soul. And so then from there, I quit my full-time job as a middle school teacher, post-divorce, after a year of being sober in 2017, and just at that point started teaching yoga and leading workshops and doing some mentorships and coaching. And then it's evolved from there. And today I am Wild Woman Yogi is my handle on all of the things. It's also the name of my business, if you will. Although it doesn't really feel like a business. It is, because that's kind of the world we live in at this point.
Yeah, and how you make a living.
Yeah, but my offerings are from the Wild Woman Yogi. And yeah, so those are the things that led me here. And that's kind of a really broad overview of my life. But that's kind of who I am.
Sounds like everyone else. It hadn't been easy, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't
beautiful at the same time.
Slide in.
Yeah.
To a beautiful life.
Yeah.
I think that's how we grow, right? That's how we evolve. So that's why we're here, is to talk about it and to encourage others who might be trying to figure out what their next move is, that there is light on the other side of the challenge, right? And then the challenges continue, right? Even with awareness and awakening, the challenges are still there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So, are you ready to tell us a little bit more about what is all encompassed in a sacred healing practitioner that
Yeah.
you are?
So, for a long time, people are like, "So, what do you do?" I'd be like, "Well, I'm a yoga teacher." That's not really it, right? Yes, I teach yoga. I will always teach yoga because it is, to me, it is that it's such a beautiful connection, mind, body, spirit, right? It's a way in for a lot of people to some of this deeper work. But as my journey continued, there was this itch again, right? I'm like, oh, okay. And when I start itching, I'm like, okay, the universe, usually the itch is not very pretty though. It's like the universe is like, go, 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 go. So, so I started, I continued my journey in my own personal practices that then have evolved into sharing and activating in other people. And so one of those, again, yoga, number one. And then sound. Sound is something that I have utilized since I was a kid. I mean, I sang, I was constantly singing, I was in the choirs, all the things. And that's really where I felt the most connected to spirit, right? Is when I was singing. It was like an activation. And in 2021, I was at a spiritual summit and had this beautiful ceremonial release through a breathwork process. And the woman who came over to help me was a beautiful songstress. And as she's helping me move the energy through my body, I hear this voice coming from who I thought was her, and later realized, oh no, that's me. I'm singing right now. And in that moment, there was this beautiful woman in my mind's eye, and she had this beautiful gray flowing hair, and she was ancient. This woman was just, and I knew her from this level this cellular level I can't even explain. And I was like, oh, okay, there's more to this than just, there's more to this than I understand. And so when I spoke to the practitioner who was helping me through this, I said, how did you know what I needed? And she said, I didn't. She said, I just have something in my medicine bag that you have in yours. And so now it's your responsibility to activate that in other people. And so that became my quest to really begin to understand sound, and how not only the bowls and the tuning forks and all of these really cool sound healing devices or instruments can help to awaken humanity, but our voice as a channel can also, that is the piece that it unlocks these codes in our DNA. And so that is one layer. And then
And
coaching.
you have a beautiful voice, by the way. I'll just add that, because lots of people could be doing that, but yours sounds good.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And then with that, I've been practicing Reiki since 2015. I think it's a beautiful container to be able to navigate energy, right? I've been attuning others to be able to use Reiki as well, which is the goal, right? Is to let's as many people as we can to activate and attune. And then coaching is also something I offer, because like someone will come in and let's say we'll do a yoga nidra sound bath, and they'll have an experience and they're like, I don't know what to do with this, or they're newly sober, or they're like, I don't know what my purpose is. And so the coaching can layer in the yoga, the sound, breathing techniques, Reiki. It can layer all of that in as a personalized opportunity and practice for people to then take it with them. So, and when it comes to overarching the sacred healing arts, it's kind of limitless. in my opinion, it's whatever is bringing us back to our connection to source, right? So these spiritual practices, this could be, I know ceremonialists who lead sweat lodges and other rituals, and that's a part of the sacred healing arts. It's what's tapping us in to this flow space where we are connected to love. It always comes back to love.
Yeah. What do you feel? Are there any other aspects of the sacred healings that you work on that am I interrupting or were you
No,
done?
well, thank
Okay.
you.
Where do you feel the most drawn to right now that you're feeling that inner pull with the events or whatever you're doing?
Yeah. So, as women, we are cyclical beings, and that's something that I pay pretty close attention to. And in the season right now, we're in the fall, and so we're on the medicine wheel. We're in the West, and this is the time of the ancestors. It's really a time of kind of starting to pull inward, and it's a time of starting to reap the harvest and then get ready for hibernation. And so it's interesting. What I've been feeling drawn to is to go inward and allow something new to start to cultivate within, to then create from there. Now, I can't necessarily do that all of the time, right? Because I'm in service to a world that doesn't necessarily follow the natural cycles, right?
Yeah.
I follow a calendar.
And time space.
Right. I do try to honor where I am cyclically. And so I think that truly the thing that I can do all day, every day, and not feel like I'm tired or like I don't want to do that anymore is sound. I absolutely love to be able to drop in with people and sing their soul songs. Like at Unity, I'll come and it's not just a sound bath. It's we come together, we do conscious relating, we do a little bit of breathing, we laugh, we sing together, and then we end with a sound activation. And I think truly those are the kind of events that I love the most, is when there is that kind of interaction and weaving. It's kind of the full experience. So
like engaging with the audience.
yeah,
It's more like participation rather than a performance.
Yeah. And a lot of times you'll go to a sound bath and it's just you're laying on the ground and that's it. And those are beautiful and I love them. Please, I go to them. They're incredible.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
And I just feel that it's so important that people leave with something tangible that they can go home and practice. So the sound is an activation, right? And so maybe after they leave an event, they remember the conscious breathing that we did together, and they feel confident from that, and they can then relate to other humans on a deeper level, just on the daily. Or there's a song that we sang and they're like, oh my gosh, I love that song so much, I'm going to sing it all day long. And then they come back and they're like, I was singing that song and it was so great. And you're like, yay.
That's got to feel good. Okay, so for people who have no idea what we're talking about regarding a sound bath event, let's just describe it for them. Like, I'm talking, tell me about the tools you're bringing and what you're setting up. And for anyone who's watching this video, you can see what she's going to be describing, because she brings these colorful crystal balls, and I want her to describe, why are they colored and what does that mean? So tell us a little bit about a sound event.
So, we're all vibration, and just very basic. Like, you think about everything in this world is vibrating at a frequency, and in the physical body, there can be congestions or there can be densities. I'll just call them densities, right? That build up in the body based on life. We walk outside, we get a congestion. I walked outside earlier and my nose got all stuffy, right? And so it happens. And I really truly believe that sound, or the vibration of sound, can help to heal from the inside out. So like really kind of get to the root of some of these densities. So the bowls that you see behind beautiful Lydia are all tuned, right, to different notes. And the bowls that I use are 432 frequency, and then they're tuned to different notes from there. And each one of them is thought to correspond with a different chakra along the chakra system. And so the red is for the root, the orange is for the second center, yellow is for the third, green is for the heart space, the blue is for the throat, the indigo is for the third eye, and then a violet or white is for the crown of your head. Now, not all bowls are colorful. Most of them are actually white, right? Or there's a lot of them that are made from gemstones, and they're so beautiful. Someday I hope to have some of those. One of my teachers actually has these beautiful gemstone bowls that are infused with both crystal and different gems. And anyways, they're incredible.
That's wild. I bet they're heavy. Are they heavy?
They're not any heavier than the regular ones.
Okay.
Right? They're just beautiful. And you think about the crystals having another layer, adding another layer, right? With whatever those particular gems hold. So going back to the bowls that I have, everything I tend to use seems to be very colorful, and I think that that's just the playful part of my soul on this planet in this lifetime. I was like, I'm gonna get a rainbow set. That's what I'm gonna do.
You were drawn to that one.
I was. It's also easier for me when I'm playing. Like, okay, I know exactly which one. If they get set up in a different order.
Well, and so do the people who are listening to it. They can, like, when you play the heart green one, I know I'm working on heart chakra energy.
Yes. And the other layer that I always tell people is, don't get attached to the colors, because as consciousness is ascending, some of these colors might shift and change. And so don't get attached to the colors. It's a great starting point. So someone who's brand new to this, if they're like, okay, I went to a sound bath and I closed my eyes and all I could see was green. It didn't matter which bowl was playing. It was green, right? Okay. We now can associate that with heart energy. And then it's like, but then it started to change. Cool. What did it change into? Get really curious about this, right? And so we don't want to get super attached to anything, because as we change and as the vibration of consciousness continues to ascend and all of the things, they'll change. So they might change. Just saying. So that's one of the things that I use. And, these are a relatively new creation, if you will. Crystal bowls haven't been around forever and ever and ever and ever. Because in order to make these bowls, you have to have a really, really hot fire. One of my teachers taught me that. It's like when we were before there was a forge, there was only, hide instruments like the drum and the rattle. And then came the Bronze Age, where we could actually forge metal. And then beyond that, we were able to move into more Aquarian age instruments, which is like the crystal bowl. I use tuning forks as well in private and one-on-one sessions. And then I use chimes, which, resonate with the different sounds of nature. Each chime is the notes that make up the chime, or like if you were to go out and listen in nature, it is what you would hear without any other sound. So they're air, water, fire, and earth. Yeah. What else do I use? Oh, I use a drum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a gong too, right? There's one behind you.
So the gong that you see behind me, this is actually a photo from, there I am, a Reiki level 2 and 3 training that I had with Saha Yoga and Wellness. But this gong is actually at Golden Hill Retreat Center. If you haven't been there, so need to go. It's a great place. Amazing humans. I do not play the gong, but it is on my list. Michael Anderle is one of my teachers, and he has a gong training at Saha in Tomball every now and again. And so
and I have a personal testimony of a gong, going to gong events. There's a guy here in town that his name is Harry Be Happy, and he does multiple gongs. And I go to the Path of Tea. I've gone many, many times. And like the first time I went, I had a shoulder injury where I couldn't move my arm higher than this for like a year. And then after my gong event, the next day, I had full range of motion again.
I mean, it's incredible what these can do. Like
power.
It's huge. Like Michael will come, and he's got, I think, like 8 gongs, and he sets up. And I've had people say similar things. Like, I was having this chronic issue, or at least even a chronic emotional issue, right? Here's my bowl. I didn't do that on purpose, but I have my bowl set up. I had an online sound session before our chat, and so they're set up all around me,
right in front of you. You were just saying the gongs are powerful.
And even with the sound, the bowls, I've worked with a number of people who, I have one in particular who came with post-infectious disease and was trying to find alternative methods to, right, to bridge the gap, right? Not to say that the modern medicine is something that we're anti, right? But it's
maybe doing both or something,
right? And we've had just a beautiful 2-year relationship built, and she's thriving and creating communities of her own, and not without, there's not without moments, right? But there's tons of to me, it's like, I think the thing that I find to be the most interesting is when someone commits to a practice like this, it works. It works, and so we just hope for more evidence, so it'll reach more people.
Yeah. And let me add, and we can openly discuss this back and forth, but personally, I feel like sound healing really helps the nervous system. So any nervous system challenges, I'll say, like if you consider yourself to be very anxious, if you feel like you have ADD, ADHD, if you have depression, just, nervousness, fear, anything that fight or flight, anything that kind of works with that nervous system to help you. It's basically gets you into the parasympathetic, which the parasympathetic is the one that calms down the fight or flight in your body. And so it's almost like supporting the parasympathetic nervous system. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah. Well, share.
Sometimes a sound bath can be, or sound in general, or energy work in general, for some people, it can be jarring, right? It can be like, right? And so the body goes into fight or flight, right? And so there is a level of like understanding that, right? When you come in, some people will come in and say, oh my gosh, I was really just expecting to relax. And I was like, the whole time, right? But it's moving density in the body. And we can think about multidimensionally or across mind, body, and spirit. It's moving energy. And so it's moving through like knots, right? Or twists. And sometimes to get through a knot, right, it can feel a little uncomfortable. For the most part, and what I like to offer in my longer sound bath sessions is I start with a yoga nidra, which is a way to bring you into that parasympathetic state where you start off in the hypnagogic state between waking and sleeping, right? And then expand into the sound. If I'm going to do a long, like for instance, like an hour-long sound bath, I would start with about 15-20 minute yoga nidra to really calm that nervous system down.
Explain to the audience, what's a yoga nidra, who, for people who don't know what that is?
Yeah, so it's yogic sleep, and it basically is what it translates to, and it's doing just what you're saying. It's bringing us from any kind of state of activation to a state of parasympathetic, state of ease, rest and digest. And it's an oscillation of consciousness through your body. And so we drop in and then we rotate by naming your body parts and doing a couple of other guided visualizations to bring you again into, they call it the hypnagogic state, which is like between awake and between sleep, where your brain waves are chilled out, right? And then bring in the layer of sound, which allows you to journey from a place of steadiness.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Do you know what level it is? Is it like beta or theta or delta brainwave?
I should probably know that, but I don't.
Okay. It's probably the first level,
Yeah.
like before you're deep, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's beta, if I'm not mistaken.
I had my chart right here, but I don't.
So in, just kind of wrapping up, what are the things that we're not aware of that you want us to know in your episode? Like, is there anything, I mean, are you connected to like Native American spirit? I see you have feather earrings on.
Ew.
Yeah.
These were made by a beautiful friend of mine in Costa Rica.
Are they, what kind of feather is that?
It's a falcon.
Oh, neat.
I know.
Yeah.
A falcon, and then there's a guinea fowl, and I think a perico.
That's pretty.
I think that, what do I want you to know?
Would it help give us something like for the current state of affairs? There's a lot going on in not only the United States, but in the world. And so what are you shining your light on to help calm people?
We just have to stay steady. And now more than ever is really the time to be dropping in with spiritual practices. I truly believe that the way for us to evolve as a species is to return to our true nature, and that is connected to God, connected to our earth, connected to the animals and the plants and one another. We've become so connected and yet so disconnected. I know that's so cliche, but it's cliche for a reason, right? Because it's true.
Yeah.
And so if I can say anything, it's like, maybe you went to a sound bath and you were like, man, that was amazing. Like, keep going. Or maybe find what it sparked in you. Like, oh man, it made me think I'm going to go sing again, or do that. Or you went to a dance class and you're just like, oh, that felt so good. Do that. Anything that is connecting you to something that is in the flow, which is where God is, right? Anything that's keeping us out of this, because this is going to keep us in those loops. It's going to trigger their nervous system to keep us activated. So anything that will keep us in our hearts, because what is going to, and again, like love, and learning what that means to be, to love unconditionally. And while it might sound like, well, sound can't help us do that, it can, because it can bring us back to our natural state, right? Yoga can bring us back to our natural state. Having a coach, having a therapist, having conversations like this, it brings us back into our natural state.
Yeah. for me, having the Oneness channel, it's just, for me, it's my way of helping remind people that we're all connected and we are all one, and we are all one, even as a human species. Just our oneness, from, doesn't matter what country or race you are, we're all human. And so that's like a physical level of oneness that people can, who don't even understand oneness at the spiritual level, can just understand, like, we are all got similar DNA. And so that's where our connection needs to be, reminded. And that's where it's a little bit easier to love one another in our oneness, right? Instead of saying, you have to think like I do and behave like I do in order for me to love you. But we're never going to transmute the things that we're complaining about if we don't take it to the love level. Right.
Absolutely. That was so beautifully said. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. So, okay. I have one other question I thought of while you were talking, which is, do you do your work through like an online way? So if I have someone in Poland who listens to the Oneness Junkie, which somebody does from
That's
Poland,
so cool.
Shout out to Poland, if she's still listening. So if somebody from anywhere else in the country, do you do your stuff, your sacred healing through the internet?
Do. I actually was just mentioning that I had set up here. See if I can show you. I had set up for a session. Look, there's my bowl.
Make a sound. Will you give them a little tiny, like, wait, before what I want to do is, here's how I want to do this. You and I did not plan this. Okay. But this will be so cool. And we're going to give y'all a treat. So here's what I want to do. I want to get the business out. Let's talk about how do they find you? Remind everybody where they can connect with you on all the different socials, and just remind them, spell it out.
Yeah.
Your website. And then what I want to do is I want to say goodbye, everybody. And then I want you to take us out with one of your little, can you do that?
Yeah.
Do a little thing and do your sound so we can hear your voice, because I told them how good you were.
Thanks.
And then while you're doing your thing, I'm going to hit the off button. Okay. Yeah. So if that works, like,
absolutely,
just like a minute or two.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And to answer that question, yes, everything can be done online. I have people in Costa Rica. I have people in other parts of Texas. So in Oklahoma. So I've got people in places. So all of it can be done across the etherwebs. That's the beautiful part about energy. You don't even actually have to be online. It works without it. However, most people like to have the one-on-one sessions with sound. What else?
How can they find where all can they find you to connect with you and order your services?
Yeah. So my website is www.wildwomanyogi.com, and that's woman, WOMAN. Same with on Instagram, I'm Wild Woman Yogi, and on Facebook, I'm Wild Woman Yogi. And it has all of the information about my present offerings. If you're interested, one of the best ways to keep up with events is to go to my website. At the bottom of the landing page, there's a place to sign up for an email. And I send those out once a month. I don't like to do more than that, but it'll give you unless something special comes up and I'm like, ooh, I got to send this out. But I try to give once a month so you know what's going on for that month in advance. And then I list out the things that are happening later on down the pike. For any one-on-one opportunities, you can email me at wildwomanyogi@gmail.com. I think that's about it.
Thank you so much, Emily. Hey guys, audience, aren't I a lucky girl to be able to meet all these wonderful people and then to share them with all of you? Oh my goodness, that's such my joy. Like, I am so in my wheelhouse with this Oneness Junkie podcast because I love getting information out to people. I love sharing the good work that other people are doing. And it's my joy to meet people when people say, like, what are you into, Lydia? I'm into people. I love people. I love to get to know people and then tell other people about other people. So somebody called me one time, Lydia, you're a human synapse, because I'm always connecting people, whether it serves me or not. I love connecting people because I feel like that's mine to do in the world. And
I love that.
yeah, and Emily and I are here to be of service to others. And if you know someone who you think needs to be highlighted on the Oneness Junkie podcast, at the end of my episodes, I always invite y'all to reach out to me at onenessjunkie.com and email me and let me know somebody, and I'll reach out to them and see if it's a fit and a match, and just see. Let's see. We're trying to get the message out. So thank you so much, Emily, for being here and being who you are and spending your afternoon with me to do this.
Well, thank you so much, Lydia, for answering your call and connecting other people to answer theirs. Like, it's so beautiful. I'm so grateful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to end the episode with a little bit of Emily sharing her gifts to the world. And then I'm just going to click the off button. So you go. It's all yours, Emily. Do what you do. We've reached the end of this episode. If you'd like to continue with this inspirational journey, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out. If you are a self-proclaimed oneness junkie, get yourself a t-shirt and spread the message of oneness in your community. And finally, if you have a story to share or know someone that should be a guest on this podcast, contact us at onenessjunkie.com. See you next time. And remember, when we heal ourselves, we heal the world. Compassion starts with you and me.